That shit fire. All right, let's check cameras. Got the right camera. Check mic. Yep. All right. You are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here chilling, doing a solo dolo show today. Thank you all for watching. Hope everybody's doing good out there in TV land. We got a good show ahead of us. Sips coffee. All right, now let's do our thing. And so, like we always do, if you want to do a podcast, start a podcast, record a podcast, music video, photo shoot, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. Make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Subscribe at Joint Universal Creatives with a K, all one big block. Trying to get to 50 subscribers by the end of the month. Almost there at 44 right now. Make sure you go like the Facebook page, the He Say She Say channel on Facebook, like I mentioned. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram at J.U.K Sports Show. No more J.U.K. J.U.K Sports Show, J.U.K Sports Show on Instagram. And you can follow me at everything I mentioned, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, at KYNGRALPH, at an underscore for X or Twitter. And let's get into it. Team USA, I know I'm a little late, but Team USA wraps up the gold medal, defeating France in the final in Paris, in the Paris games. Steph Curry has a Chef Curry moment, Chef Curry game, 8 threes, 24 points, did some front running. Say what you want. Steph is the coldest front runner of all time. He waits until he gets a good lead, then you start seeing all the hand signals and put the baby to sleep and chewing on the guard, the mouth guard, and all of that. Has a moment where he has one of his classic moments: pass the ball, move around, tween, behind the back, step back. Fade away 3-pointer, game's over. Clutch moments. I think he struggled. The thing that I enjoy about Steph is that when the moment's big, specifically after he didn't get the, like, KD left and he had to step up. Those moments where Steph needs to step up, he does. And so you go through these Olympics, he struggled mightily. Very big struggles. But when we got to the medal games, the games where it's one and done and you're out, he was clutch. Specifically in the last 2 games against Canada and then against France. I think he had 36 in one game, 24 in the next, 8 threes in both games, and he balled out. And so whether or not he deserved the MVP, that's a whole nother conversation. But without Steph, we would not have got the gold. And so it doesn't matter what LeBron does, how consistent LeBron was in every game. He was a very dominating factor, took over big moments in games, was the point guard essentially, playing like a Draymond type role. Playing defense, scoring timely buckets, grabbing rebounds, controlling the offense, and initiating the offense. So regardless of the matter, I'll get into it whether or not who deserved the MVP in a little bit. But without Steph and LeBron, we don't win. And without Steph and his moments taking over games, I think he had 18 in the first quarter against Canada. If we don't have that, then it's wraps, it's GG's. Oh no, Serbia. If Steph doesn't have that first quarter, it's GG's in the chat. If Steph doesn't have these 8 threes against France, same thing. So shout out to USA. Steph coming up big, LeBron coming up big, bringing home the gold. Next up, University of Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon are 1, 2, and 3 in the AP polls. I hate when they do these before the season polls, honestly, because unless you're basing them off of last year and then moving people around based on that, based on who left, who do you think could step up, and things of that matter, it all of this really doesn't matter because when you go and you look up, like while I was looking up the predictions, I guess you could say there was a lot of like records that could happen. And it was just like, why do you have this team number one if they could also finish 8-4? And I don't like the rankings before the season starts, before we even see competitive football. Once week one happens, then all right, I'm okay with some kind of ranking. But going into the season, just spewing out random rankings, unless it's based on last year, and then you move people around, then that's where I'm okay with it. But in the end, it is what it is. Georgia has a bunch of new talent, a new quarterback. Ohio State has a brand new quarterback. I forget what his name came in, a transfer from Kansas State. Oregon no longer has Bo Nix. And so, regardless of what they did last year, these are whole new teams with new quarterbacks. And we all talk about how much a quarterback can play, the role that a quarterback can play going into the season. And so I am working on my rankings going through every position. And so today I am working on the tight ends. And so top tight King Ralph's top 10 tight ends. Bro, that's a tongue twister right there. King Ralph's top 10 tight ends. So going from the bottom, going straight up, 10 to the 1. I got Kyle Pitts. Hasn't necessarily matched up with the hype that was following him going into the season. I mean, going into his career, going into the draft. We marveled at the athletic freak that he was and is. But given the quarterback play and him playing a position that is so dependent on how accurate the quarterback is, how good the quarterback is, and the offense, he just hasn't necessarily matched the expectation. But at the same time, you can't deny his talent, being able to put him in the slot, put him out wide, get the ball in his hand. He has speed, agility, good hands, really good route running. And so for me, even though he plays such a dependent role, I have him in at 10. And at 9, I got Cole Kmet, big body receiver, receiving tight end for the Chicago Bears. And he's someone that is always has a lot of hype going into the season, going into the years. And I believe he has a crazy, like he's 6'6", 260, but has really good mobility, agility, good hands, good soft hands, can catch the ball over the middle. In a sense, like a baby Gronk, low-key Illinois homegrown kid. And so coming out of Lake Barrington, played at University of Illinois, now plays for the Bears. And so I think he's always going to be somebody that's going to be a big fantasy football thing. Not necessarily for the moment or like putting up crazy numbers, but I just feel like he's going to be consistent. And so with a projection that I'm doing, it's like you got Keenan Allen on one side, you got DJ Moore on the other, you got Rome Odunze in the slot, or technically you would probably put Keenan Allen in the slot, but you got 3 receivers and DeAndre Swift, and now you got Cole Kmet, who is going to get one-on-one coverage, is going to have the possibility of being able to put up and have a really good, solid season this year. And so I got him in at 9. I think his talent, his ability to block, being a big body tight end, ability to block, the ability to catch passes down the field, and hasn't put up gaudy numbers necessarily, but 73 receptions, 700 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. And now you have the possibility of Caleb Williams is a better quarterback. So now he can even put up better numbers. And so he put up decent numbers last year, really good numbers from a reception standpoint. Hopefully you can see him get closer to that 900,000 yard mark. But with so many weapons on the team, we'll see what happens. And so at 10, I got Kyle Pitts. 9, I got Cole Kmet. At 8, we got Evan Ingram. I couldn't stand this dude when he played for the Giants. He's had a low-key resurgence in his career playing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got him in at 8. Has a crazy athleticism, sneaky athleticism, the ability. He's more of a receiving tight end. And so putting Evan Ingram in at 8, I think he's finally starting to tap into that potential that we had or that we saw for him. I believe he's coming out of Oklahoma. No, we went to Ole Miss. Coming out of Ole Miss, what we got? 6'3", 240, good hands, great route runner, 114 receptions, 4 touchdowns, and almost 1,000 yards last year. Doug Peterson, and now having a Trevor Lawrence, regardless of if you think he's a good quarterback or not, he's been putting up numbers since playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so happy to see it, although my fantasy football drafts over the last couple of years back when he was playing for the Giants have suffered. It's good to see him finally reaching that potential. And so Mr. Consistent himself at 7, I got Dallas Goedert. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Chain Mover. With the talent that is on the outside with Smitty, A.J. Brown on the other side. Now you got Saquon in the backfield, Jalen Hurts being his ability to move the pocket around, make plays down the field. Dallas Goedert is just your chain mover, Mr. Consistent, good, solid blocker. Going to put up, not going to have crazy numbers every year, but he's just going to be the model of consistency. And he's someone that you can always count on when the moment's never too big for him. And so at 7, I got Dallas Goedert. At 6, I got David Njoku, tight end for the Cleveland Browns. He's a crazy athlete, freak athlete. And now he's finally starting to. It took a couple years to see that athleticism translate to the field, and so now he's finally starting to tap into that potential. It's kind of a recurring theme in this instance. But 81 receptions last year, played 16 games, 882 yards, 6 TDs. And I think with him being, how old is he? 28, a little older and when it comes to football and the amount of miles on his body, but at the same time, he's constantly hurt. But now over the last couple of years, he's been able to be on the field, be a lot more available, be a lot more consistent, and he's finally reaching that potential that we have year in and year out for the last couple of years. The last 2 years, I think he's finally started to turn it around. And I think that he has the talent to be a number in the top 5, but given every year we have this hype and then this letdown, I got him right outside of my top 5. With the numbers that the top 5 players have been putting up, it's hard to put him in that top 5. I know Sam Laporta, who is in my at 5, out of Detroit, playing for Detroit Lions, Iowa tight end. I feel like Iowa just continues to keep pumping them in and out. When it comes to tight ends, and I have another Iowa tight end on in my top 5 as well. And so I feel like at this point, Iowa can probably stake the claim of being tight end U. But Sam Laporta comes in, has a sneaky good rookie season. 10 touchdowns, 889 yards, 86 receptions. Like I mentioned, 6'3", 245, coming out of Iowa. And he just was everything that you need. Now you got St. Brown on one side. You want to see Jamison Williams on the other side. You want to see him start to come into his own. But you got weapons for, Jared Goff to be able to throw to. Sam Laporta steps right in and has a Pro Bowl type season. And so, arguably, if the tight end position wasn't so heavy at the top, possibly could have been had an All Pro type season with those numbers. And so, Sam Laporta's ability to just be everything that you need, blocking, pass catching, scoring the ball, I think, and he's young too. So, and he played all 17 games. And so, Mr. Model Consistency, I'm looking forward to see what happens this next year. You're not going to be able to sneak up on people. You got a game plan for them and put someone on them that can possibly put to a stop. And so I went back and forth with my 3 and my 4, honestly. But I'm going to stick with it. Mark Andrews is at 4. I think his ability to be everything you need in a tight end, he's very, I think his blocking is very much underrated. I think we think of Mark Andrews as just a receiving tight end, but I think his blocking is very much underrated. He's Lamar Jackson's safety blanket when it all buckles down. Got hurt last year in a hip drop situation, but still had 45 receptions, 544 yards, and 6 touchdowns while only playing in 10 games. He's a former All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, and I think Mark Andrews is just one of those. He has the talent to be the best tight end in the league, but it's just a matter of pick your poison. Which one do you like at the end of the day? Who do you like more when it comes to these top 4 tight ends? Up next, I got T.J. Hockenson. Was the tight end with Detroit. They trade him to Minnesota, and he continues to keep doing his thing. Although they're fortunate, they were able to replace T.J. Hockenson with Sam Laporta, but T.J. Hockenson, 15 games last year, balled out. Big man balling. 95 receptions, almost 1,000 yards at 960 yards, 5 touchdowns, 6'5", almost 250, and he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, still at about 27, and right now he is on the physically unable to perform list, but he's just one of those people, when he's on the field, he's a monster. And it's just like year in and year out, he's just putting up numbers. And he has, if he's available on the field, because he did have a year where he was hurt, but if he's available and on the field, he's proven to be a for sure tight end 1 in your fantasy football drafts, while also just being a tight end 1 on the field. There's really, in my personal opinion, there's only 2 tight ends better than him in football. And so this next one might be a little bit controversial. I know he puts up crazy numbers, but when I start to rank and I watch film on tight ends, I think at some point we start to lose sight of really what the tight end position is supposed to be. And I like the balance that George Kittle gives me. So at 2, I got Travis Kelce as the number 2 tight end in football, which is why I said this might be controversial. Me personally, I think Travis Kelce, the receiving tight end that he is not that much of a difference between him and George Kittle, where I think the difference between him and George Kittle in the run game, blocking and whatnot, pass protection, I've seen him pancake prominent edge rushers. And so for me, that's why I have Travis Kelce in at 2. I got George Kittle at 1. Travis Kelce is a phenomenal tight end, the best receiving tight end in NFL history. When it comes to the playoffs, he puts numbers up year in and year out. He's a focal point within that offense. There's so many moments where, as a receiving tight end, it's like Travis Kelce's finna get the rock, and for some reason and somehow he gets open. So when it comes to being a receiving tight end, I think Travis Kelce is the greatest tight end of all time. But when I'm ranking these tight ends, I'm thinking about your ability to make plays, your ability to block, point of attack blocking, and your ability to catch the ball down the field. And the one thing I'll give Travis Kelce over George Kittle, or not one, just one thing, but there's two things. Availability, because George Kittle has had the injury bug does follow him a little bit. But when he's on the field, he puts up numbers. Like last year, he played 16 games, 65 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And Travis Kelce has 30 more receptions, but he doesn't even have more yards than him. And so with one less game. And so his ability with Travis Kelce, he thrives in that dink and dunk, but George Kittle has the ability to make the big play while also being a crazy threat in the run game, point of attack blocking. So that's why I got George Kittle at 1 over Travis Kelce. But I got Kyle Pitts at 10, Cole Kmet at 9, Evan Ingram at 8, Dallas Goedert at 7, David Njoku at 6, Sam Laporta at 5, Mark Andrews at 4, TJ Hawkinson at 3, Travis Kelce at 2, and George Kittle at 1. And so going back to basketball, Olympic basketball, going into it, I had Canada as one of the major threats to the U.S. And I think when it comes down to it, I don't think that Canada played to their potential. But also it leads you to the question, was their team built for success? When you look at Team Canada and their roster, they had really good guard play, pretty good wings. Everybody on their team plays in the NBA. But at the same time, the guard play, you would have thought would have been able to put better numbers up to the point where they could have really created something special for that team. And I just don't think that they were able to do that. I don't think that they were built for success when it came to the bigs. The bigs are just a little light in the britches. And I think at the end of the day, while I pull up this roster, I think at the end of the day, the team was just too small. Being able to throw out Nickeil Alexander-Walker, R.J. Barrett, Kim Birch, Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Trey Lyles, Jamal Murray, Andrew Nembhard, Kelly Olynyk, and Dwight Powell. I just think when it comes down, when you put matchup upon matchup, you match up with the U.S., they're just not big enough. You match them up against France, just not big enough. Now, do I think that their guard play, like Lou Dort, Nembhard, Jamal Murray, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, R.J. Barrett, they should be able to match up with anybody's wings and guards, but when it just really truly comes down to it, their bigs just aren't big enough. And so hopefully coming down the pipeline, they got Zach Edey, who is a legit big, very skilled, good hands around the rim, tall, blocks a lot of shots. And so hopefully going forward, they'll be able to match in the next games. I think 2028, I believe, is out here in the States. And so we'll see what happens next, but I just don't truly believe that they were built for success when it comes to winning these Olympics, although I did have them up there and highly touted. And so I'm going to do a quick roundabout of who should start. I got Russ and Justin Fields. I think to start this season, I'm going to go Russ. I think after the outing that Justin Fields had, I don't think he's quite ready yet. I do think that he does have a little bit more growth to have. I think Russ will be able to flourish. Great defense, two-headed monster in the run game. He can make enough plays, and they have enough weapons on the outside to where Russ doesn't have to do a lot. I do think after this year, or if not later in this season, Justin Fields should definitely be the quarterback of their future. I think that he can and will. We've all seen how much, if you've been following the podcast, I've been caping for my boy for a good minute now. And so I do personally want to see him in a long-term role with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, I got the Raiders. After this game this weekend, Antonio Pierce will be making the decision on Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. I'm a little torn because I feel like Minshew did everything that he could last year to get the Colts into a playoff position, and they just came up a little short. And so with the talent that we have on this team, I do think that Minshew is ready to step in right now. But I don't think that Aiden O'Connell was as bad as people made it out to be. I don't feel like it was. Yes, I would have liked us to try to get one of the top guys in this draft this past year. But at the end of the day, I'm comfortable with who we have. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say Minshew. I want to see the Minshew magic for the Raiders this year. He is who I would like to see as my quarterback for the 25 season. But at the same time, I wouldn't be upset with Aiden O'Connell, honestly. And so with the last one, I had another one, but J.J. McCarthy has a torn meniscus, so there's no point in even talking about that one. But Brissett and Drake May, who should be the starter? I think Jacoby Brissett should definitely be the starter. Based on what I've seen, I don't think Drake May is quite ready yet. I do think this is a year where he should redshirt, sit it out, give him an opportunity to learn the offense, and then go into next season and take over the helm. I don't think that he's quite ready yet. I feel like he still needs a good amount of work. Confidence is one, footwork, and I think he has all the arm talent in the world, but it's just some of the fundamentals that I think that he needs to learn while also getting used to the speed of the game. And so with the last little bit of time I got left, we're going to do a fair or foul. Noah Lyles, at this point, I'm starting to believe or think that Noah Lyles must have lost a previous girlfriend, someone he really cared about, to a former basketball player, NBA player, because these takes and stories that are coming out as far as things that he said about the NBA are just wild. So Noah Lyles criticizes the Adidas camp. He was being invited to an Anthony Edwards shoe release. And so he had some comments to say. I don't have the exact quote, but it pretty much was along the lines of Anthony Edwards hasn't even made it to a finals. Adidas doesn't care about basketball like that when it comes to the sports in which they endorse and the shoes that they make. So why are they putting so much into this kid who hasn't even won a final? While meanwhile, I've won a gold medal at the highest level at the Olympics. Now I am the fastest man on the planet. Now, these comments were probably made prior to him actually winning the 100-meter gold, but I get where he's coming from. So the point I'm going to say is he's foul for the sake of, you got to think about business. When it comes to being a Olympic track athlete, how many track athletes have had signature shoes? And to my knowledge, Michael Johnson and Usain Bolt are the only two. And it's not like they continue to still keep making those shoes now that they're no longer in the sport. And so I think this was a perfect opportunity to rub shoulders, get around some people that could then see him in a light where once you get to meet somebody, we always have preconceived notions about how people that we see on social media in videos and interviews. But then I have a few people that that I wasn't necessarily fans of until I've seen them in another light. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to get around someone like an Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, no matter who he goes, who he is and where he goes, he is a basketball athlete. He's a basketball player. So when it comes down to it, he's going to get a certain amount of notoriety, a certain amount of looks where honestly, if it wasn't for Noah Lyles saying what he said in the last Olympics, I probably wouldn't really know who he was, to keep it a buck. And it's like we don't really care for track like that until it's every 4 years. And so, or at least we start getting to the point where we start ramping up this Olympic talk. And so this was a perfect opportunity for him to be able to rub shoulders. And I feel like he blew it in this moment. So I'm going to say he's fouled for the comments in which he said. LeBron James wins the Olympics MVP. I talked about Steph and how clutch Steph was in the last 2 games against Serbia, putting up 36. And then in this last game against France, 8 threes, 24 points. The dagger fadeaway 3-point jumper in the end. But LeBron was Mr. Consistent. Led the team in, I believe he led the team in rebounds, assists, but I think it was Anthony Edwards that led the team in points, or Steph Curry led the team in points. And I think the model of consistency that LeBron was, he did deserve the MVP award. I don't think that you can play terrible and play bad and struggle and then play really good in the last 2 games and then get the MVP. Although like I said earlier, I do think that Steph deserved the praise that he's getting because of how clutch. And without him, we would not have won. But you can't just go in there and play bad for 4 games, play good for 2 games, and then get the MVP. So I don't have a problem with LeBron. I think it's fair that LeBron got the MVP. And so I went over on time a little bit, but thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all, my viewers. Make sure we go and subscribe on YouTube. I am trying to get, by the end of the month, trying to get it up to 50 subscribers. I'm at 44 right now. So make sure you go and subscribe at Joint Universal Creatives with a K. Joint Universal Creatives is all one block. Make sure you go like the Facebook page, the He Say She Say channel on Facebook. It is one big block as well. And on Instagram, I did tweak the name a little bit. It's no longer J.U.K. It's just J.U.K Sports Show, J.U.K Sports Show on Instagram. Make sure you go follow us there. And then you can follow me everywhere from Twitch, TikTok, Instagram at KYNGRALPH, at an _ for X or Twitter. WNBA coming back this week. I believe it's Thursday, tomorrow? Oh, 2 days, Thursday. I was correct. 15th, we're back. So on Friday, I will be dropping another episode, and I will be talking about the WNBA. And so, like I always say, love, peace, and the Aces 3-peat.